Hi everyone, my name is Sarah Beth, and I just finished reading Animal Farm by George Orwell. This book was published in 1945 and is about 140 pages long. Unlike many people, this was not in my high school curriculum. I did not read it for high school. I can see why a lot of people did read it for high school. Something I will say, you can obviously tell I got this used. That is not my name. I'm not Haley. Um, and I did enjoy that she did annotate the beginning and the very end of the book. Um, I see why this is read in high school. Yes, it's about communism in Russia. It's about the rebellion to that. Even without the annotations, where she did say, "Hey, this is the Tsar. This is England. These are the Allies." You can tell that that's what it is about. Especially due to the fact that all the animals are calling each other comrade. I think that it's a children's book. It's only 140 pages long, and it's obviously just showing how communism has not worked in the past, and how and the animals basically found ways to, well, the pigs in specific, pigs and dogs basically found ways to feel superior to other animals, even though they are in fact equals, and that was the whole grounds of their rebellion. Main premise: the animals rebel against the owner of the farm, Mr. Jones, and the pigs take over. And you see it little by little, and how they change history, and they change the commandments and change the rules. And they threw out one pig that was for actual equality, while his name was Snowball, and while Napoleon became dictator and used fear tactics with dogs that he trained from puppies to essentially control the majority of the farm. You have the zealot of the rebellion, Clover, who is an older horse. They basically, his whole mantra is, "I will work harder, I will work harder." And you see how he's manipulated into, because he's like the purest animal in the novel. And you see how even he, who is the most firm believer and says that his two mantras, actually has two: "I will always work harder," and "Napoleon is always right." And how he even comes to question them in the end. It's sad a little bit. I don't really think I'm giving too many spoilers, but I do think that it's you could have a child read this. There's nothing in the prose is hard to read. It's very easy. It's very fast. Even if you look at the pages here, it looks like big lettering. Not huge, but it's definitely not condensed. And I feel like the themes are something that everybody could understand quite easily. Um, I think I understand why a lot of people read this in high school. I think that it's definitely a very influential piece of literature. I think that it's a little bit surface level. You understand inequality happens, all right, and then they try to gaslight all the animals. That's the basic premise. Everybody can relate to that. Personally, my favorite piece of literature that follows the communist regime in Russia would have to be "We the Living" by Ayn Rand. That's just, I've mentioned it recently because I read another piece of literature that followed this, but I still stay with the fact that I think "We the Living" is just heartbreaking. And you see the same themes in that novel as you see in this novel. One of the reasons why I actually waited such a long time to read this book is because I read 1984, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate here, but I don't think it's that great. I read it years ago, was also not required for my reading. For some reason, we read like Julius Caesar, Of Mice and Men. We got to pick our own books as well when I went to high school. So a lot of these classics I missed out on. So you might see a few reviews in the future while I'll go through some more classics that probably everyone else has read. Uh, but essentially, I read 1984, and I had read Brave New World before it. And fun fact, Aldus Huxley was actually at a time George Orwell's teacher. And when 1984 came out, he said, "Well, you basically stole my premise, but you didn't understand the full meaning of my novel." And I feel like you kind of get that here, where the meaning's there. It's surface level, and it's there, and it's got some great themes, but as in 1984, I know this is kind of off, but in that book, as in this book, So in that book, basically, people were enslaved by the government. People are enslaved by the government. While and you do see some of this here actually as well, but in A Brave New World, you see that people enslave themselves by the technology that they create. So I firmly believe that that's a better take, and the way that his book is written is definitely like the prose is just it's more solid, and I believe that you really become entrenched in that novel as opposed to 1984, which just feels kind of stilted. This also it feels a little bit stilted to me. Not that it's bad, it's really easy reading, and I just think this is a child's book. I think a child should read this. I think that it's a great novel for a child to read. It's not very long, and it's got great themes. I don't know what else to say. I just don't really think that it's as deep as everybody has told me. I've heard about this novel for years, and I was expecting more. I was expecting myself to have to actually think about the literature, and really, I read through it quite quickly, and I didn't really have to exercise my brain at all. I just think that George Orwell, he was surface level. He missed the point at this. I'll read more of his novels, but if you want to read something more like 1984 and read George Orwell, I recommend Brave New World by Aldus, Huxley, and Islands. If you want to read something more about communism, I recommend We the Living Once Again. Anyway, hope you enjoyed my review and have a good one.